The
Uh,
agenda,
Somebody did it, wasn't me.
all right. Um, the agenda lists all topics which may be discussed at the meeting and those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by open meeting law. The following information is provided to members of the public that would like to participate remotely. To participate remotely, please use the link. There's a Zoom link indicated there, or dial the toll-free number and use the webinar ID indicated. Computer and app users may use the raise hand feature to request to speak. This meeting here will be held in person location. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. Do we have, I've lost the name, it's fallen out of my head. Somebody was looking to have a public comment.
Me.
Oh, it was you. Okay, there we go. Names and
It
faces.
doesn't matter if it's at the end or the beginning. I just figured I was free. I'd come in person.
I'm sure it had it at the top and bottom, so I just picked one.
Yeah,
If
whatever
we
you
wanna-
want though. I can do now and
Yeah.
leave you folks in peace.
Yeah.
All right. So Karen Menard, 672 Page Street. So I had watched your December 28th meeting and figured I'd come and make a public comment tonight, just to make sure that folks were aware of the ongoing stormwater issues we're having on our side of town. I know that we've dealt with Bill, and he's probably sick of hearing from me over the last gosh, forever. And I've dealt with the previous DPW directors on this as well. So I'm just going to read what I have just because then I won't miss anything. So we were on vacation last week, and when I tell you that I spent a great deal of time worrying about flooding in my basement back at home, that is not an exaggeration. Every time I had cell phone reception, I would grab my phone and turn on my Nest cameras, and I would tune into my basement because we have cameras down in the basement now. Because when we get a tremendous amount of stormwater that comes down our driveway and through our property, we're getting tremendous amounts of flooding. So I live on the Shirley side of Page Street, and we have multifaceted problems going on over there. And while I'm aware that the groundwater table is really high, and there's obviously nothing that can be done about that, it's the stormwater that is becoming a bigger and bigger issue, and it's causing damage to our property, our neighbor's property, the roadway, and contamination to the environment, especially down at Beaver Brook. At the end of Page Street, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but if you go from Page Street into Shirley on the right-hand side, there's a body of water. Beavers love that area. I think that's why it gets the name Beaver Brook. But that's all water there, and that water actually starts up and wraps around our property. So the issue number one is the Village of Flat Hill, which is right off of, it's on Flat Hill, it's Cortlandt Circle, that area. Has a stormwater retention pond that has not been maintained. It is not working properly. I'm not going to go into all the details because there's literally decades worth of meeting videos and agenda, our meeting minutes from our neighborhood meetings with the select board. But I will note that as of today, there has been nothing done to fix those issues within the Village of Flat Hill, which is a condo association. So there's that's going on. There's a new development that went in on the former apple orchard, which has added an additional amount of stormwater. They do have some stormwater mitigation systems, such as rain gardens and things over there, but we're still getting, I mean, it's a house, right? So you went from having an orchard of, however many acres that was absorbing the water into the ground, and now it's running down there off their roofs into their driveways and then out onto Flat Hill. And we also have multiple private sump pumps and stormwater drains that are being allowed to drain directly into the stormwater system that runs along Page. So people have asked me, why are these a concern if we do have a stormwater drain along Page Street? There was a lack of maintenance of the storm drains in our area. Despite, I know Bill has said it multiple times that we have employees who know where the storm drains are. There was at least one along Page Street that nobody knew existed. It took a neighbor to point that out because it was so clogged and covered with debris. Those drains were cleaned just after the September 11th storm, and they were jetted again last week or the week before, after I had raised some more concerns to Bill, because it's not making sense the way the water is coming down, that it's, and I'll get to this in a second, but it sort of flows over where the drains are supposed to go. So like the first three, the water will flow over, and then on the fourth one, it's open and it's allowing water to go down. It's just, there's something that just doesn't seem right there. So apparently this current system that's there just can't handle the amount of stormwater that's now coming onto Page Street, which is proven with every rain and every melting snow event. So like I said, I'm not fully on board with Bill's idea that the system's working properly. I still feel like there's something else that's causing some of this somewhere in the lines, but we're gonna run with Bill's opinion that it's just over capacity at this point. When rain arrives or the snow melts, the water starts flowing over and around the basins rather quickly. It continues down Page Street, taking with it all sorts of debris, from road contamination to rocks and silts. A good portion of it enters our property, coming down either the driveway or through the woods, and the remainder continues down Page Street. Either way, it finds its way to Beaver Brook. How do I know the water's coming down our driveway? Besides seeing the actual water flow, large trails of debris cover our driveway from top to bottom with even the smallest storms. The silt's making its way into our storm drainage system down by our house, which we put in ourselves many years ago. We've also cleaned, and it has to be cleaned out more and more often because of the amount of silt coming down from the road. We know when ours needs to be cleaned because it starts creating a pond or pool, like in our turnaround. And Bill was over there September 12th. That was scheduled. It wasn't because of the September 11th storm. I was pointing out the wrong termination point of our storm drain. It is further down. It is clear. We have confirmed that it is working, right? And the water that does go into the storm drain, that does make its way into the storm drain. The termination point of that stormwater system is between 668 Page Street and 672 Page Street, which is our house. It doesn't go into a retention pond. It doesn't go into a holding basin that would slowly release it into the ground. It dumps directly, and I mean directly, onto the side of the hill. It creates a stormwater stream which crosses back and forth from our property and our neighbors before hitting a small natural pond that, I kid you not when I tell you there is not a single living fish in this pond, and continues its journey of contamination down to Beaver Brook. So again, while I understand Mother Nature, the water tables being high, stormwater management is within our control. It's something that we can fix. I know Bill and I have talked, and we're going to see if we can do something to hopefully block some of it coming down our driveway. But in the meantime, we still are going to have it coming down our driveway. I don't think it's going to completely solve the problem anyway, because even if it doesn't come down our driveway, it's going to continue down Page Street, and it's going to either find its way into somebody else's driveway, or it will eventually make its way into Beaver. And it just, all that stormwater, I mean, it's not like it's, nice fresh spring water. It's contaminated water. So, I'm not sure what the solution is going to be. We're going to keep working on it from our end. So I just wanted to come tonight just to, to make that, and to sort of say to you guys, keep residents like us in mind as you're creating your plans from here. Because we can't keep putting in developments and allowing, nobody thinks about it, right? I mean, they don't think about sometimes think about the unintended consequences. This apple orchard is a great development. They're beautiful homes, and I hope that people love living there, but it adds to us. People that are trying to save their properties from being flooded, and legally they can route their sump pump drain anywhere they want on their property, but now they're coming off of their property and they're draining with the piping directly onto town property and into the storm drains. That causes problems all around, because if they're putting stuff into the storm drains, and as if we go with your thought that it is just over capacity, they're adding more to it, and that it wasn't designed to handle that. It was designed to handle stormwater coming off the streets. But when I tell you the amount of debris that comes down our driveway, my children currently hate me. Because the last storm, I asked our daughters to get some shovels and go up to the end of the driveway. The storm before that required our tractor. It's buckets and buckets of debris. The neighbor next to us, who has never ever had a problem with any water, suddenly had I'd say 10-foot long by 6 to 8 inch deep trench that was carved out. Not with the storm of September 11th, it was the storm of early December. So it's even some of these smaller storms that are just the stormwater, whether it's the village of Flat Hill, whether it's a culmination of things, I don't know. It's just not getting any better, and it's just getting worse as the years go on. So that's my comment for tonight. So good luck with all of that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, and thank you for Renee to answering my email so quick earlier today.
Yeah, no problem.
So thank you. I'm gonna leave you folks and to be here.
Mr. Chair, just a couple comments.
Yeah.
This is exactly why we need the stormwater utility.
Yeah.
Right? You just gave 10 reasons why we need to get this set up. It's just, the DPW is just not set up to handle all these complaints, especially now as fast as they're coming in. So thank you, Karen.
Yeah,
You know.
and we need to do something, and I don't know what the solution is. I mean, as most of you probably know, I have sat on the Parks Commission now for, I think I'm in my 8th year. Oh, good grief, I'm cringing. And I was finance committee before that. So, I mean, I'm fully aware of the budgets of the town and the constraints of the town. And, we were at a meeting last night and a question came up and my response was, well, if we do that, if we put trash barrels at our properties, who's got the capacity to handle it? Because who's going to be able to have somebody from the staff go through and make sure that they're emptied and not collecting, overflowing and making a mess. Because I know what the constraints are. And I don't know where the solution is going to lie, but we are not the only ones complaining. I know that Bill's office gets inundated. And the crazy part is now I'm getting neighbors that are reaching out to me to say, what do I do about this? I'm like, you call the DPW. And I hate saying to people, call it somebody else. If there was a way to avoid having to have an employee deal with it, if it was a simple fix, I'd be like, yeah, take a shovel. But when you call and you say, my driveway just washed out with the stormwater that was coming down Page Street. And my response to him was, yeah, it's in my driveway. I'm fully aware that your driveway just washed out into my driveway. And we're not close, by the way. We're neighbors, but it's not like it's 10 feet between our driveway and theirs. It's considerable. And now the roadway's washing out, which is going to create more work for Bill because he's going to have to replace roadway. So
More cost for the town.
exactly.
Right.
And I don't know how to avoid that, Renee. It's, we're
Yeah.
not, I'm not here to say dump millions of dollars on to solve the Menard problem. But, again, I don't want to do another vacation where I have to send my neighbor over on the days that I don't have cell phone reception in the morning and the night to check my basement. I'm okay with water, to be clear on that. I'm okay that Mother Nature has made the ground water table high. There's nothing we can do there. But I don't want the stormwater added to it anymore, because that's where my concern is. That's the only time we flooded is when this tremendous amount of stormwater comes down our driveway. And we have more to do. I've got some other ideas that we're going to do this summer of trying to redirect some of it. And even though we'll redirect it the legal way and onto our own property, is it going to have an effect to the neighbors downstream? I don't know. I don't want to cause anybody else to have the same issue that we're having either.
Yeah.
So it's not fun. It's fun. So thank you.
Yeah. I don't, Mr. Chair, if I can just make a comment so everyone else, I don't know, who do we have? John and is anyone else there from the task force? Or is it just the 3 of us?
Bill and Tim and myself, John.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so just so you guys are aware, I think Karen knows that, this has come before the select board. I know even well before me, but even recently, and it's been a challenge working with the village of Flat Hill trying to address the concern with the detention pond on site. It's not clear if that will have any or how much impact on kind of reducing the stormwater that runs down Flat Hill and then onto Page Street. The engineer seems to think it could have some impact, but anyway, just to let you know, the select board's still, pursuing that, so.
And I think that, just so you guys know, and I said I wouldn't go into detail, but it's since you're such a small group. There's the retention pond at the village of Flat Hill. If you were, I think there's more than one, but the
There
one
is, yeah.
I'm specifically talking about is if you were coming down Flat Hill, the second entrance to their development, it's on the right-hand side. And when that water leaves that retention pond, and I don't know the whole logistics on how that whole thing's supposed to work. My husband knows more than I do, but there's been complaints for literally decades, going back to shortly after that development was put in. Because what it was doing and what it still does is it's flooding in front of one of the homes on Flat Hill, which creates a very large piece of ice, especially in the winter, which is a hazard. But previous DPWs directors have tried to go in to resolve that. And I'm not sure it was necessarily resolved the right way. And I don't think it's something that Bill would have done if that's the situation we were in this year. It was rerouted underneath Flat Hill Road. So now it goes under Flat Hill Road and it's releasing over on the Allison property, Connie Allison's name. So it's the big farmhouse on the left as you're going down Flat Hill. And then it continues down from there. And I used to joke with people that I could put a duck there and watch the duck travel down, because I can literally start there and follow the water. It goes down. Some of it will pool in front of this house, and it literally takes a sharp left onto Main Street. I can literally follow it there because I think the first, and Bill, correct me if I'm wrong on it, I think the first stormwater, I don't know what you would call it, like where it catches the water that goes down. I think the first one of those is actually on the right-hand side on the corner of Flat Hill and Page. And then it travels underneath. And there's a series of them going down Page Street. And do they stop at our house?
Yes.
So they stop at our house. So anything that gets past there doesn't hit any stormwater drains. It just flows down the road. If it's lucky enough to get in the stormwater drain, I think there's 4 or 5 of them that go there, and then they cross under our driveway. It's like a meandering path. And I don't know what the idea was behind rerouting it underneath Flat Hill. That would have been years ago, but it's just weird how that whole system, the way that it runs, it just never made any sense to me that you would take water from one side of the road, and instead of trying to deal with it on that side, you're now running it underneath. And I don't know if that would have solved our problem. It probably would have dumped it into the first drainage catch area on the right-hand side of Flat Hill and Page, but I don't know, this is way above my pay grade. That's why when I email Bill, I'm like, he probably thinks I have no idea what I'm talking about. And I really don't. Like, that's the problem too, right? Because you're telling me, oh, it's just at capacity, Karen. And I'm like, but why is it going in the last hole, but not the first 3 holes? Like, that isn't making any sense to me. And Renee came out and she walked the property with us. We had her out in the woods. We had her walking down Page Street. We went all the way up to Flat Hill. So I'm taking up the tour. I'm happy to give anybody the tour of that area that wants it. And we are scheduled to go in front of the select board. It was originally February 6th, but I hear you've changed that meeting, Renee.
I don't know for sure. I know it was discussed this week, but I haven't.
Yeah, I think your February 6th meeting was canceled.
I didn't get an email about that.
Oh, I haven't heard.
That's what my husband said.
That would be unfortunate.
I don't know. Don't hold me to it, but that's my husband had watched the end of the select board meeting, and that was sort of his takeaway.
It was,
so.
we're supposed to know by tomorrow is what
Okay, perfect.
they said this week. Yeah.
Perfect. So if you're bored and there is a meeting on February 6th, the Village of Flat Hill will be present at that meeting with the neighbors that have sort of rallied around trying to get this resolved. Anyway.
So I have a question for Bill. Bill,
Yep.
what do you think is the worst area of town when it comes to stormwater drainage issues?
Worst? That's a good question. We have issues all over town.
I know.
There's issues. New West Townsend Road has issues. Electric Ave has issues.
Still?
Well, we seem to have fixed that one, but we'll
Okay.
see. Time will
Yeah.
tell. Yeah, I get calls all over the place. Probably most frequent calls is, yeah, Page Street, but
It sounds to me
Mhm.
like Page Street is probably the longest. Been a problem for the longest period of time. Is that fair?
I think that's fair, yeah.
Okay. I'm just curious.
We can redirect it to Hickory Hills if you want, Renee.
No, I'll tell you, the lake is, well, I haven't been there for a week, but yeah. Okay. Oh, I guess maybe one question, Bill, you might, are some pumps allowed to discharge onto roads? I mean, I've seen it. My old house, I've seen it all over the place.
That people shouldn't be pumping water out onto the road. That is an issue right now all over town. If you see ice, it's probably because somebody's pumping water out onto the road. But after all that rain, you know, you can understand why they're doing it, but they should not be putting it on the road.
Yeah, this is my, please correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding of, like, so running our sump pump and having the drainage for it. We can drain anywhere we want on our property. And if it happens to leave our property and possibly go onto a road, where the stuff that I'm seeing along Page Street and some on Flat Hill is people that are literally have put their permanent piping onto town property to drain into the storm drains. And when I brought it to the attention of, and I don't know if you were on this email chain, Bill, I brought it to the attention of the building inspector, thinking it was a building thing. And he said he went out and inspected, and he's like, oh, that's been there since 2008 when the house was built. And I'm thinking, no, I would have probably noticed it there, and I didn't. But does it make a difference even if it was there in 2008? Is it considered encroaching if their piping is actually on town property? You know, I don't know how that works, and I agree with Bill, and that, can you blame them for wanting to save their house? You know, we have another neighbor who's trying to stop the flooding in his own basement, so he has a pretty big storm drain, and I'm not storm drain, a pretty big pipe that's coming from his backyard, and it's redirecting it through his front, and that also ends up going into our already over capacity storm drain. I think it's actually flows into maybe the one that is working. But it's crazy to see the amount of water that continuously comes, and we'll get it again. The first time we were ever flooded was actually when snow was melting. Snow was melting and it just, there was no place else for things to go. That was before the groundwater table was high, so it was like, oh, whatever, that was our first flood. But the last one was September 11th. Can I 100% blame stormwater on that one? No, because it was a tremendous amount of rain. But did we have a tremendous amount of stormwater that redirected itself, as it always does, down our property? Yep, that one I was not happy with, Bill. But we can open the Menard swimming pool, the Menard, town beach. We could raise money that way, and we could just, fix our problems like that. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Does anyone else need me for anything? So I go home and enjoy my piece.
You enjoy that.
Great, thank you so much.
Have a great night.
How long has that problem been persistent?
Over 20 years.
Nice.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
spent a
there's-
couple hours there walking around.
Yeah, I did too.
You spent probably days.
Any idea what it would take to at least begin to solve the problems that she's describing?
I think the ultimate answer is an entire new drainage system there. So probably $1 million,
Okay, I was gonna say hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
You're talking millions.
potentially.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
just give it distances, and that the problem is, did we just want to dump the water into that Beaver Brook? untreated, we'd probably want to put it in a detention pond somewhere, right, to slow it down and get the phosphorus out, get the solids out,
Part of
but
this
there's no place to
problem-
do it.
Isn't there, I might have misunderstood, like there's a detention pond already that isn't maintained and isn't doing its job. Is that a town responsibility? Is that the
It's not,
development that's not
Right.
doing there?
right, it's the
Gotcha.
homeowners association,
Yeah.
yeah.
And whether it's functioning properly, you would get people to push back on that depending on who you ask.
There's some sort of funding to fix that retention pond. I have a vague memory, like 6 months back, that there was money that was available from some government funding, and Adam had carved out some of that money to attack that problem, and they had a solution to does that ring a bell with you?
I think that's, Renee, you want to touch
Yeah,
that?
that was the select board talked, well, yeah, Bill, you were there actually, right?
Yeah,
With,
yeah.
I forget the engineer's name.
Brian?
Brian, yeah, we were talking about possibly using some of the ARPA money.
Yes.
It's complicated because it is on HOA, it's not on town property. Town does not own it, town is not obligated. And at the time, the trustees, the Village of Flat Hill trustees were not interested in accepting funds from ARPA.
Okay.
There was some legal, their lawyer had some comments or something about what that would trigger potentially downstream if they accepted that. Yeah, I don't know, Bill, it's very complicated and very long.
It is, yeah. And yeah.
We're
the
still
select
talking,
board
though.
meetings haven't gone well, so it's hard to
Yeah.
say.
It hasn't been, it's been a difficult road. But the line of communication is still open.
Right. Hopefully cooler heads prevail at the next meeting.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But again, there's no guarantee that, I mean, I'm hopeful, and based on what the engineer had said, it can only help. I think the question is how much it will help. I think we should not expect it to solve the problem, honestly. But
I
can
agree.
it buy us some time? Alleviate some of this issue to buy us some time for better. The problem is there's no place to reroute the water. There's no town property around. Like, you would have to pipe it through Allison property all the way to the back, and I think that might be conservation land, which is town owned. But if it's conservation land, that may not be an option.
Right.
And
you
I
don't-
think that's the 1.5, or that's the $1 million price tag, right? We're talking big bucks.
Yeah,
to
right.
pipe it that
There's
far.
no easy solution, so.
No. It doesn't mean we can't improve it, but
Right.
yeah, or try to.
Well, would the whole town be responsible for that, or would it be just the people, the local residents in that area?
Well, it's a town issue, right? So.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of, I guess, what we're looking at when it comes, sorry, I was jumping ahead to the document, Bill, that you provided. Just going over here about like how some of Chelmsford did their thing, talking about like flat annual fees. Oh, I had somewhere to go with that, but I've lost it already. My apologies. Yeah, I don't know. There's gonna be stuff to work out there. Like, and the idea of if, say, we are whatever methodology we go about to get this funded, like what do you do for somebody like this community? Like, can they actually invest the money into making sure that their retention basins work and they're not spilling stormwater out everywhere? Like, does that then go against whatever they would normally be charged? But that's too far down the road to think about just yet. Do we want to go on to the documents from Chelmsford? and just kind of anything that if anybody's had a chance to look over, or review any of the kind of information we got from Chelmsford, if anybody has any thoughts on it, at this point. I see here that they went with, basically flat, funding to deal with most of their problem, which I don't know, that seems like it's probably one of the simplest ways to go about something like that. The question I actually had, and I thought this was bringing, was tangential. It was the next part on here. When it comes to things like the Massachusetts Asset Management Grant, like what exactly, I don't know anything about the kind of bureaucratic or application side. Like, how does one go about applying for a grant like that? Like, what do we need to have set up first to present, to be like, here's what we want to do, here's what we think we can, will you pay for some of it?
Yeah, do they have a grant specifically for this?
That was what I thought.
It's like a community compact type grant? Because, we apply for those. I
Yeah.
think you can only have one going at a time, so we have one now for
Okay.
to kind of do an inventory and a rating on our bridges in town,
Gotcha.
bridges and culverts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that's what that was, because I have it marked in the notes from last meeting.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so where I am with this, we know what our end goal is to have this fund with which we can have dedicated stormwater work. I guess this is the same question as before, just pointed differently. What steps need to happen to create a fund like this? Like, even let's say we have everything else set up on the other end, like what is the process of setting up a fund? What steps do we need to do? Does anybody know? Okay.
Yeah, good question. Right?
All right.
Yeah.
So I guess we got to do a little more research than that.
That's fine. I mean, this was the first place to. So.
I think maybe the town manager would know,
Okay.
right? Because we need to, it means setting up an enterprise fund. I mean, I know town meeting and votes and all of that would be involved all along the way, but basic.
Sure.
So at a minimum, an enterprise fund has to be set up, right? But I think this also would require not just the fund and the money for maintenance and repair and whatnot, but I think, Bill, we would be asking for additional personnel, right? We talked about this last time about having people dedicated
Correct.
to addressing, yeah.
I
So
would
that's
assume that was a sub portion of the fund, like the fund is used to hire. But yeah, I guess that is, now that I think about it, its own entire separate item.
Yeah.
And that,
So
yeah.
yeah, so Chelmsford, I had that Q&A with Chelmsford. Renee, did you get the email I just sent a few minutes
I
ago?
just got it, yeah.
Okay. So I
And
kind of put the Q&A together, a little easier to see. I started watching the first video and they presented their budget at the town meeting. They were ready to go at this point. And the budget had 11 new employees in it for the town of Chelmsford, right?
Mhm,
I think we should start a little smaller, right?
yeah.
But yeah, but they had, and new equipment,
Yeah.
trucks and a big capital outlay out front and engineering and different support. They had everything down to computers, to office supplies, to you name it, it was in their budget, right?
There is a lot of overhead that goes with this.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, Chelmsford, their stormwater utility fee is on their sewer bill.
correct.
So I guess everyone in Chelmsford has town sewer. I don't. that's not the case in Lunenburg. So where
Correct.
does this go on our property tax? You know, these kinds of like nitty gritty details. I think there's a lot of them,
Yeah,
and uh, and I hate to. I mean, I know the town manager has a lot on her plate, but I think we definitely need her input and help. But even how to arrive at where do you start for your opening balance of this fund? What do you try to maintain? Well, it's kind of a catch-22. How many people and how much equipment and
Chelmsford probably working with $1 million annual budget.
2 million.
2 million?
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
how does their size compare? Do you know
Yeah.
the size of the town?
I am not sure.
And one of the slides, I just started watching the first video clip. The internet here is awful. But yeah, so I might freeze periodically because it happened Tuesday night too. One of the slides had the number of like catch basins and how much like length of pipe and all of the stats related to the stormwater infrastructure. And the
Right.
other slide I saw that was kind of scary was the fines that other towns got. They were
Yeah.
50, the lowest fine on the table was 50,000, and Fall River had over $100,000.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So we need to be in compliance with our permits, right? This
Yeah.
EPA permits, yeah.
And that
Yeah.
reporting was from like 2017.
Yes.
What's town population here? About 11,000?
About 12, I think.
That's 12.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chelmsford got about 3 times more. They're about 35.
Yeah.
They're 36, just look it up.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I got 35 something. Yeah.
So the households are probably only account for half of that 2 million. The other half must come from businesses.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So in businesses, they do a tiered system based on how much impervious surface
They
they
have a
have.
lot more business than we do. I would think.
Yeah.
We're kind of rural.
Yeah. Maybe to outline what the stormwater utility would be used for, request personnel, and then without any numbers and see what that looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Chelmsford, I'm just looking at is 230 miles of roadway. We have about just under 100. So I did assume their stormwater system is twice as big as ours.
I think, Bill, we know the number of catch basins we have, right? Or you do, you know?
We have a decent grasp on that, yep.
Okay. I don't remember because I remember that was one of the lines on the slide.
Yeah. Where do I have it? I don't have the number on top of my head, but I'm sure I can find it.
Well, I don't remember Chelmsford number either, so
Right.
I could grab a screenshot of that slide and maybe try to, just for a point of reference, see how we compare. I think there's, I don't know, I think you guys agree, there's no question we need a stormwater utility. The question is how and what it looks like and how we get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's kind of what I have as I think the kind of takeaway questions from this meeting. Up top is what is needed to start an enterprise fund of this kind. We've got questions about how do we assess fees, in terms of like how do we assess them and how do we I forgot the word, like, Chelmsford does it on their sewer bill. Like, we don't have the same water. It doesn't affect everybody. So what do we do to make sure everybody's hooked up? That there's going to be general questions about organization, kind of a rough idea of how many people do we need, what kind of costs are we looking at. That's the kind of basic takeaway questions I think I have for this. If anybody's got anything that they think I'm missing, please let me know.
Yeah, I have the same basic questions. Bill, that engineering company, the consultants, I think, was it CEI? I forget.
Yeah, CEI.
Have they worked with other towns to implement stormwater utility? Do they have experience in?
They have, and maybe that's our next step is bring them in. Have them talk about it, since
Mhm.
we're kind of floundering a little bit, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
have them kind of point us in a direction. Yeah.
Now, since they're consultants, do we have the money, or well, I don't know what our agreement is with them. I'm sure they charge us for every hour they spend.
They do. So we have a yearly contract with them. So, that they're expecting to come visit us at some point. So we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah. I found our numbers. So for drainage manholes, there's 265. There's 1,335 catch basins. There's 1,838 pipes, 462 outfalls, 185 culverts, 60 surface discharges, and 16 structural BMPs, which is best management practice, which is a stormwater feature to slow down the water and clean it up.
Mhm.
So, we have quite a big system.
Yeah. The other thing I think I saw on Chelmsford presentation, at least the part I watched, there was a significant public outreach that they did prior to setting up the stormwater utility. And I know Concord isn't, they had a public presentation. They are in the process of setting one up. And so it's a significant effort, and there's a lot of public education that goes along with it, leading up to any like town meeting vote.
Yeah, agreed. Anytime you're gonna tell people, we're gonna take more money out of your pocketbook, I think
Mhm.
we owe it to them to explain exactly why and where it's going.
Mhm.
Mm.
And what I've seen, at least in the Concord meeting, they had I forget what engineering company or consultants they use, but they had them come in and give a presentation.
Mhm.
So if the utility paid for labor, equipment consultants, would the equipment be shared? I'm assuming it would. Or would it be dedicated to
Yeah,
stormwater?
yeah, I think it would be shared.
It kind of makes sense because that would
Mhm.
make it more efficient.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Chelmsford talked about buying a Vector truck to clean out catch basins, but you can also use that to help with your sewer system too. So, yeah, it would be shared.
I mean, I guess at the very least, like once we start having its own dedicated fund, its dedicated people, it's shared as much as possible. And if then it's not enough, then we look towards, dedicated equipment. At least this way we've got people, we've got hands working
Mhm.
on it. Okay. Um,
So is this right? Our goal would be to have something for 2025 town meeting?
sure.
Is that
I think that's a good goal.
reasonable?
Seems like a good place to start at the very least. But
Yeah.
it seems like a good goal. Okay, so let's say. All right, so organize ours for our next meeting then. We've got some questions to present to the town manager, if we can. And Bill, if you could figure out when we could set up, if the engineering consultants would be able to come out here for our next meeting, or whenever we
Yeah.
think we've got the right questions for them.
Yeah, so our next meeting would be what do we do, the third Thursday of the month?
Yeah, it's gonna be like the 15th.
So 15th, yeah, I'll ask them to be there.
Okay, that would be great.
Tim, you know what, I think my own opinion would be to hear from the consultants before reaching out to the town manager.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I don't know what everybody else thinks.
That makes sense.
Agree.
That as a more technical understanding of what we need to do and what's going on before we start presenting it.
Yeah, I'm hoping they can come with like a roadmap of this is how it's done.
Yeah, I like that. We'll go with that then. We'll set that up, kind of figure out any questions we want to ask them. We're gonna start by just assuming they're gonna be there for the 15th, and we'll adjust as we need to. Set up any questions, and we can, have a little question and answer session with them at the next meeting. And hopefully that continues us down this road. Does anybody else have anything that they want to get to tonight?
So would you have the information available that basically says this is what the budget should be, this is how many people we need? This is what we try to,
Yeah, I think that's something we'd have to work on together. I can come up with something preliminary, yeah.
I'm sure the big question,
Yeah.
what is the annual budget? gonna be?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's, do you have a punch list?
Mhm.
Maybe like the flat hill would be like one of the things on your list.
Yeah. I can work on that.
One of the projects is on the proposed capital plan, Bill, like one of the projects was above the cutoff line, right? So far,
Yes.
one of the
So-
culverts on Northfield.
Northfield Road, right over here off of Chase Road. Yeah, so I'm trying to get an engineer lined up right now to design that. I'm close on that. Once it's designed, yeah, the capital plan that I presented would be to, do the work.
Yeah, but there are a lot of other ones on that plan.
Yes,
did-
well,
yeah.
at least 3 other locations stormwater related, so,
Yeah,
and I could have put a lot more.
yeah. I'll just offer if the consultants aren't available to make the 15th, Thursdays are generally good for me, so I'm happy to, switch it to another week.
Oh, sure.
If
With the
need be.
exception of the first Thursday, I can also be the same, so. Yeah. We can be flexible as needed.
So speaking of, are there best practices that homeowners can use to kind of mitigate this? So for example, I'm thinking about, you came out and you did that nice berm for me, so. But in concert with that, I had to have a landscaper take like an upper driveway and make sure that it had slope requirements so that the water came out of off the upper hill and worked its way into the road.
Yeah,
You know what
so,
I'm talking about.
Mhm.
So, I guess what I'm saying is there a way where residents can do smart things to help control.
there are, so, the right now, if you come into town, you build a new house and you disturb, what is it, more than 1 acre, you have to have stormwater management plan. So people can do those things now if they want. Part of what Chelmsford does for their stormwater utility, they say if you go in and you put in a stormwater BMP and, you have an operation and maintenance plan and you follow that, we're gonna give you a discount on your rate every year. Right, so it's,
For the resident.
kind of incentivize
Yeah, for
people
businesses,
to, to
That
do
makes
some
sense.
stormwater mitigation
Yeah,
right
that-
on their property
that
by
makes
themselves,
sense.
yeah.
So Bill, who checks on the compliance then?
Yeah,
Do
see,
they
that's,
actively check?
you would need somebody working for the utility to go out and physically inspect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my sense is that isn't done
Yeah.
consistently.
It would be just me and,
Yeah,
I don't know if I can find the time.
yeah, yeah.
When we renovated our property, all I'm saying is we spent so much time trying to re-architect the whole landscape so that stormwater wasn't a problem and
Right.
groundwater wasn't an issue.
Mhm.
So if everybody looks at their property with a fresh set of fresh hat, so to speak,
Right,
it's probably smart things that they could do to make the problems away.
right. That's where the outreach is gonna help, right? Because a lot of people don't know that stormwater is an issue, so we gotta get it into their minds.
Like, what the heck do you do with it when you discharge from your sump?
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure that everybody understands what the guidelines are. And they don't make the problem worse.
Right.
Mhm.
Right, so occasionally, I'll put something out on the DPW Facebook site, stormwater related, to let people know.
We started with the master planning steering committee, kind of creating a network of outreach in the town. So I'm sure as we need, we can start to piggyback on that, get
Yeah.
information. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Does anybody have anything else, or should we bring it to a close? Can we do? I haven't done any like votes or anything. We supposed to be doing this. Maybe. Oh, motion. That was what am I supposed to be accepting motions for things? Or I don't think we
Well, nothing tonight, I don't believe.
Yeah.
Are the minutes from the last meeting,
Oh,
I think they were completed.
yes. I think I saw that email. Did
I
they
thought
come-
those
I
meeting,
yeah, I sent Danielle just one change.
those minutes were very well written, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something you can vote on and approve the minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's not on the agenda. I don't know.
Oh,
No,
it's not?
Yeah. No, no.
Yeah.
Include that for
Yeah.
the next one then.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
And I'll include this meeting as well.
Okay, good.
Same time, same place,
I'm sorry?
same time, same place.
Yes, unless anybody would prefer different, same time, same place.
Fine by me. I'll be back in town, so I'll be there.
All right, and I guess with that, we have brought the meeting to a close.
I motion for that we adjourn.
Second,
All right, moved and seconded, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Good night, everybody. Or
All right.
whoever.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
So, take care.
You too. Bye.
We can declare victory on the groundwater property, I gotta tell you that.